Hey, how's it going? This is Joe and Tell. Today we're going to take a look at the NAD T778. This is my first NAD amp that I've ever tested, and I've been wanting to take a look at this thing since I saw it even prior to seeing it at CES 2020. Initially, this is a review unit that they sent out a while ago, but since then I've decided that I wanted to purchase it, so that should kind of give you an idea of how this review is going to go. So let's touch on a few of the differences, what makes this different from some of the other AVRs that are common out there, some of the ones that I've reviewed previously, some of the ones that I've owned. So my first amplifier, I believe, was some kind of Kenwood Pro Logic receiver, and then I've had an Onkyo, and since then I've had pretty much Denon and Marantz. And so this is a little bit different in a few ways. Number one, it has this huge touchscreen on the front, which might seem like a gimmick, but it's actually not. It's very useful, and you can access the entire menu system from this touchscreen, and it just looks great. When you're playing music through here, you see the album artwork, and I just love that touchscreen. I was concerned at first that my kids would be drawn to it, to touch it and mess with it, but actually they're more likely to press the buttons on the Denon AVR than they are with the touchscreen. I don't know why. Another difference is that this is a Class D amplifier. Most of the other ones that I've used are Class AB, so I wanted to see if that made a difference in the sound quality. The reason I've upgraded before is mostly because of HDMI and changes in the video category. Not so much that I needed a more powerful amplifier, although I have upgraded because of Dolby Atmos, but for the most part, a lot of times it's just because of video. And so as I've upgraded my projector system to 4K HDR one, I needed to upgrade my AVR. This one is actually modular, so they have a card in there, kind of like a computer, that you can switch out. And so if there's some new technology out, you can just switch out the card and keep the audio part. That's kind of handy. You don't have to switch out the entire AVR, and I think that's really cool. Now, the price on this is more expensive than some of the other ones that I've owned before. This one is around the $3,000 price range currently, and so that's another thing. It's the most expensive one that I've ever owned. This NAD uses Dirac for their room correction, and so I'll get into that in more detail, but I really like it. For streaming lossless music, they use BlueOS, and I found that to be very good. We'll get into that in more detail as well. A few other differences is that this one does have a backlit remote, which is huge because it has 4 AA batteries in there. It's actually pretty heavy too. You could hit somebody in the head with it and it would probably hurt them. This one actually has a motion sensor, so when you pick it up, then it turns on. It's kind of annoying because if it's on the couch and you sit down, it turns on. Just something to keep in mind. Another thing that I found handy is that it does have 3 presets for your different room correction profiles. And so that's handy. It's very easy and quick to switch between them. And that's something that I would like to see on other AVRs as well. Let's take a look at what's similar. This does have the capability of powering 9 channels, although it can decode 11 channels. And if you wanted to connect a power amplifier or multiple power amplifiers, you can have 11 channels of decoding. This does have HDMI input with ARC. You can take a look at their website if you want more detailed specs as far as the number of inputs and other specifics. You also have the options for analog and digital inputs, as well as this supporting Dolby Atmos. Now I want to focus a bit on Dirac Live. Dirac is a room correction that a lot of people seem to like, and this one does come with a version of that, although you do have to pay extra if you want the full version. So what's the difference? When you get it out of the box, it corrects any of the frequencies below 500 Hertz. If you pay $99 additional, then it unlocks the full range. A lot of times people like to block off the 500 Hertz and below. That's where they want to, it's called a curtain, where they only correct below those frequencies anyway. If you're that type of person, then you may not need to pay for the full version. I like to correct the entire spectrum for Dirac. In other room correction software, I usually cut it off. But for Dirac, I do like what they're doing, full range, so I keep that on, and I think it's worth it. In my experience, the results from Dirac are the best that I've heard so far. And so I've tried Odyssey, I've tried YPOW and the Yamaha, I've tried different implementations, and I also do my own manual tuning, and I've just found that Dirac is really doing something great when it comes to impulse response and making it sound very cohesive. It's the first time I've really heard my system sound this way, and the main difference being that it just sounded so cohesive is really the word. Instead of separate speakers, it sounded just like I was in huge bubble of sound, right? They all really work together very well, and I think that that's what their goal is. The other thing is that I think that their default target curve is one that suits me. It's what I like. It's relatively flat, although NAD has their own target curve that you can apply. You can download it from their site, and it does have a bump in the bass response. So if you feel like it's a little bit bass light, you may want to use that target curve. As far as the calibration process, you can use an app on your phone or you can use your PC. You also have the option of using the mic that they provided for you, or what I did was I used the UMic 1, which is a calibrated mic, and I feel like that is probably a better mic than the one that they've included, so it's kind of cool that you get the option to use either one. The software for Dirac is really awesome just because if it gets interrupted midway, it actually keeps saving the points, and so you don't have to start over from the very beginning. I thought that was really cool. There's a lot of different ways to customize what it's doing, how long it takes, how many positions that you're measuring at, and also the target curve. It does a good job of showing you what it has done before and the target afterwards. Very detailed, and I really like that. Let's talk briefly about BlueOS. It's their streaming platform that they have built into here, and I think it's cool that it's built in because they do offer other NAD products and BlueOS products that are separate, that do something similar, but it's kind of cool that you don't have to pay extra if you have this AVR. So it does allow you to stream from some of the high-res services. I do have Tidal, I have Qobuz. Those are high-res streaming services, and it works perfectly with this. And it's very seamless compared to some of the other apps that I've used on other systems. I just found that this is very intuitive. Everything works as you'd expect. And the cool thing is I don't have to turn on my entire system. I don't have to turn on my projector. If I just want to play music through that, I can actually do everything from the remote control, save playlist. It's just very robust, very intuitive, and it looks awesome. I also have to mention about this touchscreen, if I didn't already. Side note is that you can use it with VU meters. I thought that was cool, and I thought I would use it more, but I actually like just seeing the artwork more than anything. So as far as the sound, I'm using this as a preamp, and so I do have this connected to a Parasound A52 Plus. I am using the internal amplification to power the height channels, and that's basically it. But I have also tried it powering all of my speakers using the internal amplifiers, and I thought it was pretty decent. I'm not really the type that can tell you the difference between the sound of different amplifiers, but I can just say that I had no complaints. Maybe if you're playing it at extremely loud volumes, you might be able to see the limitations of just using the amplifier to power all of the channels. But in my case, it wasn't a huge difference, but of course the Parasound A52 Plus, with the tremendous power that it has a little more dynamics. Although that could also just be in my head because it's an expensive amplifier. I don't know, I don't have a way to test that right now. So let me go over some of the cons real quick. Number one is I have had a few HDMI issues where I've had to unplug and replug it. It is a little mini computer, and so that's something that I've seen with other models, other companies' products as well. Just it seemed to happen on this a little bit more often than it did on the other ones. It's probably something that they can fix with a firmware update, which I've seen a few of since I've had it in for review. Another con is that you do have to pay $99 for the full version of Dirac. This does have one subwoofer output, and so I've seen some that are similar in price that do have 2 channels, and you know, that's something that I wish that was included. Dirac does have a bass management module that you can't get on this. Wish that was there. The other thing is that the menu system is in 1080p, which is not a problem for most people who are using TVs because it can switch from 4K to 1080 very quickly, but on a projector, that takes a while. So every time I press the menu button, it does take a while to switch over. I wish that was upscaled to 4K. The other thing is the price at around $3,000. This is more expensive than some competing products. For this price, you don't expect to have to use a dongle in order to get access to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Yeah, this is a little bit janky to have to plug this in. Last thing, there is no IMAX Enhanced or RO 3D, so if that's something that's important to you, you won't find it in this model. So overall conclusion, I decided to keep it, had to pay for it, so I've said it was expensive, but overall I think it's worth it. The sound is really what got me. Dirac, whatever it's doing, is really doing a great job of making my system sound better than it ever has. And so, what can I say? That's important to me. The touchscreen was also a nice touch.
It's so cool. Yeah, the receiver is awesome.
It just looks great. It looks modern. It looks like something from, you know, the current day, as opposed to some of these old AVRs. Well, some of the new AVRs, they look like old AVRs. And that's basically it. I'll leave some links in the description in case you're interested in purchasing this. Anyway, that's the end of the video. If you like it, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. And once again, thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you for supporting me there. Patreon.com/JoeAndTell. That's it. Take care. Bye-bye.